Okay, so here's an episode I deliberately don't watch very often because the ending makes me cry more than a little bit every time. That's all I got for an intro for this one. Hi, I'm Torin, and welcome to Torin Loves the Simpsons. Today we're looking at Season 2, Episode 7, Bart vs. Thanksgiving, an episode where Bart ruins a centerpiece that Lisa made, and indignant at being punished for it, Bart runs away and has an adventure posing as homeless, and returns home and reconciles with Lisa. Let's dive on in. When it comes to the humor, this is a slow episode. I don't mean that as a knock against the episode. It's supposed to be slow and story-focused, but it means this humor section is gonna be pretty brief. The joke about Flash in the Pan cartoons getting parade balloons is pretty solid, and I really enjoy Abe boasting about how spineless Homer is. Aside from a couple other minor laughs, this episode is all plot. Humor gets a B-. So now for the plot. I'm not crying, you're crying. Just kidding, I'm definitely sobbing right now. Okay, so the biggest thing here is Bart's character arc. Makes sense. This episode is literally titled Bart vs. Thanksgiving. This episode is careful to establish up front that Bart is just a kid. I think that's why they included the scene of Bart trying to help with the cranberry sauce, because it shows that he has good enough intentions, but he has painfully short attention span and he has no idea what he's doing. And I think he had good enough intentions in trying to make space for the turkey, and he had his priorities all wrong, because again, he's only 10 years old. So that careful setup gives us a perspective we need to understand how Bart could be such a severely insufferable little shit when Marge demands he apologize to Lisa. It's infuriating that he could see himself as the victim of the situation, but it's well established that he's very immature, so it's much easier to extend him an opportunity for redemption. It'd be completely different if it were Homer behaving like that. And Bart's behavior here is itself a setup for Bart's adventures when he and Santa's little helper run away, because seeing him be so awful establishes the starting point of his arc, that he's a naive and selfish brat from which he can grow. His marveling at what he perceives as abundant opportunity, from selling his blood and from a free meal because he pretended to be homeless, certainly helps further drive home his naivete in particular. And him gloating on the TV about how he didn't apologize only casts him in an even more negative light. But none of it would work without him erupting at the notion that he did anything wrong in the altercation with Lisa, even ignoring how his eruption was critical in kicking off the entire adventure in the first place. And we see two major moments of growth for Bart, where he earns his redemption. First is when he's leaving the mission with his new buddies, and it dawns on him that homelessness isn't all fun and games, it's actually immensely tragic. And so, recognizing his blessings, he decides to give the money from selling his blood to his new buddies, the guys who are actually homeless. And the other major moment is pretty obvious. It's the reconciliation with Lisa, and this is the point where I consistently lose it and start bawling my eyes out, if I haven't already. It's just so powerful to see Bart and Lisa truly connect like this, for Lisa to truly get through to Bart, for us to see the thought process by which Bart completes his arc. Lisa, the true protagonist of this story, managed to turn Bart from an indignant little fucker into someone who actually has empathy. And even after that first moment of growth with his homeless friends, Bart is still kinda insufferable. He's still angry that Lisa expects an apology from him, and he still feels he did nothing wrong up until the moment when it clicks that he realizes he fucked up. And with probably the greatest sincerity of any line Nancy Cartwright has ever recorded, Bart truly apologizes. Just, wow, what a character arc. I think the story still would have worked without the setup to demonstrate Bart's immaturity so early on, but I don't think it would have worked nearly as well. And the cranberry sauce scene is by no means the only demonstration of Bart's immaturity at the top of the episode, as there is also the glue fight, but that scene does more to establish Bart and Lisa conflict rather than set up Bart as painfully immature, so I don't think the glue fight would have done the trick. So that's the main course, but there are a couple of side dishes for me to taste while we're on the plot. This is the first mention of Hooray for Everything, who recur in the deep background for a couple seasons in some delightful ways. This is also the first instance of Release the Hounds, which is so central to Burns' characterization that it never before occurred to me that there would even be such a thing as a first instance of it. It's one of those things that have just kinda always existed, like Disco or Boulder, Colorado. Also, it wasn't relevant to Bart's redemption arc, but the timing of Bart appearing on the TV right as Lisa is trying to read her poem Howl of the Unappreciated is just perfect. It helps emphasize just how much Bart acting up overshadows Lisa's very existence. It helps make the reconciliation feel even more compelling. Oh shit, I guess it is relevant to Bart's arc. Pretend I talked about it during that whole section. Also, a couple little things that have nothing to do with anything. This is another instance of football announcers mentioning a player named Wolodarski, a reference to staff writer Wallace Wolodarski, who co-wrote quite a number of great episodes with his writing partner Jay Kogan. Also, Eddie and Lou's voices are flipped, but at least Lou finally has the correct skin color. Lastly, while continuity is generally not the show's thing, this episode shows some surprising continuity with Season 8's You Only Move Twice. In this episode, Homer tells Maggie that his favorite football team is the Dallas Cowboys, and in the latter episode, he expresses a deep desire to own the Dallas Cowboys. As someone who, for a couple years as a teenager, had a bedroom painted with a Dallas Cowboys design on the walls, because we were renting a house and apparently the homeowner's son was a huge Cowboys fan, I have no strong opinions on Homer's love for the Cowboys. That is all to say that this is the most powerful plot of any episode we've reviewed so far. When I say this episode makes me cry, I mean that is just about the highest compliment I can give, because that is not easy to accomplish. Okay, fine. Maybe it's not that hard to make me cry, but still. This episode really hits it out of the park, and I'm happy to declare this as the first episode of the series to earn the coveted S+ for plot. Or really, an S+ for anything at all. And now, for the final rating. We have a bit wider of a spread than usual, with a B- for humor and an S+ for plot. But the plot brings it so hard that the relatively low humor rating doesn't matter that much. It still matters, and almost enough to knock the episode down to A tier, but nope, this episode gets an S- overall. This is one to keep around, even if you find it maybe a little emotionally draining like I do. Thanks for watching. As always, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and feel free to let me know what you think down in those comments. Up next, we're looking at Bart the Daredevil, so I will see you in that video.